Welcome everyone. My name is Seth Berry. As you know, I'm the House Chair of the Legislature's Joint Standing Committee on Energy, Utilities, and Technology. I'm also on the board of Our Power, which is a growing statewide coalition of nonprofits, businesses, faith groups, environmental groups, and others from an industry background who are looking to make Maine the first state in the nation to fully and equitably decarbonize our energy economy. And we also believe that we know that broadband is closely connected to that, and we can help to close the digital divide in the process. Our Power is putting on these power lunches to hear from experts around the country on items that are of interest in understanding the promise and potential of consumer ownership. Last week, we heard from Winter Park, Florida, and the utility manager there who over 20 years guided the city of Winter Park through a conversion from investor ownership to consumer ownership. They saved money, they improved reliability, and the sky did not fall, even though some had claimed that it would. The special guest today, we're very privileged to have her, is Heidi Sanborn. Heidi is an elected board member of SMUD, which I think has the best utility name out there, the Sacramento Municipal Utility District. And we're going to learn from her more about the district, about how a democratically governed elected utility board can bring benefits to the people that it serves. And also, very, very importantly for all of us, how it has led the nation in decarbonizing their energy economy in the Sacramento region. And I emphasize region. This is an area that serves both the city of Sacramento and also the more rural countryside around it. So without further ado, Heidi, thank you so much for joining us. We're really looking forward to hearing from you for about 10 minutes and then an opportunity for questions and answers.
Thank you so much, Seth, for inviting me. And it's really nice to talk to our friends in Maine. It's a beautiful state. I used to live in the Northeast. My parents met at UNH. So I have a lot of family in the Northeast. So I was going to talk, first of all, I'm new to the board, actually. I'm in the third year of my 4-year term. I represent Ward 7, which is kind of in the Northeast part of the county, got some rural areas and also some urban areas. And I'll share a little bit about the details of our SMUD Zero Carbon Plan, the Sacramento Municipal Utility District. Again, that's a funny acronym, I know, but it is ours. And how we just formally approved it 2 days ago. So you were the first group I've even spoken to about this before my constituents, by the way. It's the most ambitious carbon reduction goal of any electric utility in the country, and we're hopeful that others around the country will follow our lead, which is why I was so excited to do this today. I'm sure you're aware that President Biden has committed the United States to cutting its carbon in half by 2030. And last week, our CEO and general manager, which I helped hire, Paul Lau, testified to the U.S. House Select Committee on the climate crisis about our decarbonization efforts. So we're already getting national attention about what we've done. The next slide, please. So we'll share with you a little bit about who we are. This is a slide that provides an overview of who we are. But we are a community-owned, not-for-profit electric utility governed by a 7-member board, and we're all elected in staggered 4-year terms. So I'll be up for next year. There's 4 of us up next year, 2 years later. I was elected in 2018, and my ward has 900 square miles of Sacramento County. So we're a very big, the service territory is 900 miles, and we have 170,000 people per ward. SMUD, the board is responsible for setting policy and for hiring the CEO who oversees the day-to-day operations. We do not get our fingers into the details of the organization. We go directly to our CEO, and we call that policy governance, which I'll talk about. SMUD is approximately 645,000 customers and serves a population of 1.5 million people. And with 2,200 employees, we're one of the largest employers in the region. In 1923, Sacramento voters, pursuant to the Municipal Utility District Act in California, created a municipal utility district in response to the high-priced electricity they've been receiving from a competitive private utility. With a series of court challenges delaying the transfer, the Great Depression and World War II elapsed before we actually became the legally operating SMUD that we are today on December 31st of 1946. SMUD is considered a vertically integrated utility. We're responsible for generation, transmission, distribution, and we respond to the customers. Customers are our owners. Our generation mix is currently about 50% natural gas, 20% hydro, 30% other renewables, and that includes solar, wind, and biomass. It also includes geothermal. SMUD's electric rates are approximately 35% lower than those of PG&E, our largest investor-owned neighbor. Customers consistently rank us first among California utilities in customer satisfaction and in the top 3 nationally. Reliable service, low rates, and environmental stewardship are 3 of the main pillars of our approach. Next slide, please. The board is a legislative body and operates under the provisions of the MUD Act and other applicable statutes and laws. The board of directors identifies and defines the purpose, values, and visions of SMUD and communicate them in the form of policy. We monitor the organization's performance against the results of the board has established. I chair the policy committee for the last 2.5 years, and I'll talk about some of the policies we've just adopted. And as I mentioned earlier, we hire and evaluate our CEO. The SMUD board governs with an emphasis on outward vision, with an emphasis on encouraging the diversity in viewpoints, strategic leadership, more than administrative detail, clear distinction of board and general manager goals, and collaborative rather than making individual decisions. The slide shows that the core values established by the SMUD board, in addition to the core values that we've established, we've got 4 key values, the 14 board staff linkage policies and the 15 governance policies. The board continually reviews and refines these guidelines to make sure we're meeting our customers' energy needs both now and in the future. In addition to holding monthly board of directors meetings, we have 4 committees that also meet every month: Energy, Resources and Customer Services, Finance and Audit, Policy, which I chair, and Strategic Development. Board and committee meetings are open to the public and are streamed on smud.org and televised on our local channels. We also did this after I joined the board. I asked to please make sure the public can find out about what things they're interested in, and we started listservs on our website. So there's 10 listservs, everything from solar to rate setting, and people can sign up and get automatic emails. So when they want to hear about a certain issue, they can get it automatically noticed in their inbox, which we find very helpful for the public to stay with us. The SMUD board amended our vision statement on April 15th, just a week ago, to include our zero carbon efforts. And it is that SMUD's vision is to be a trusted and powerful partner in achieving an inclusive zero carbon economy. SMUD will leverage its relationships to accelerate innovation, ensure energy affordability and reliability, protect the environment, eliminate greenhouse gas emissions, catalyze economic and workforce development, promote environmental justice, and enhance community vitality for all. That was a well thought through statement that we worked on very hard. Next slide, please. So our clean energy vision. We are on familiar ground when it comes to environmental leadership at SMUD. We've built the first commercial utility scale solar array and developed the nation's first community solar program. We were the first utility in the country to establish a large scale tree planting program. We were the first in California utility to have 20% of its power come from state certified renewable resources. We received the largest federal smart grid grant of any utility, $127.5 million. But our commitment has grown exponentially as the effects of climate change in California have become explicitly clear through lengthier droughts, which we're in again now, and more destructive wildfires. If you don't know, we are about ready to declare emergency in California. Our water resources are so low. We are seriously facing a horrendous fire season, and we're all very, very nervous. Our path to the zero carbon goal has occurred in 3 steps. In 2018, SMUD staff developed the board, and the board approved a 2040 energy plan that committed achieving a net zero greenhouse gas position by 2040. So that was just before I joined the board. The California Energy Commission unanimously approved that plan. And then last summer, our board made a stronger statement about the urgency of climate change and the need for us to do more. So we passed a climate emergency declaration in July of last year. From that declaration came the Zero Carbon Plan, which is committed to eliminating all carbon from our mix by 2030. So when we hired our CEO, Paul Lau, who's been with us his entire career, he knew as an engineer exactly what we could do and said, let's do it. Let's go all the way. Let's go to full zero. And that's what we decided to do. Next slide, please. So the impacts of climate change are escalating, as you can see, across California and the country and the world. While we've managed to avoid the direct impacts of terrible wildfires that have plagued our whole state here. I mean, we get the smoke and it's absolutely horrendous, I can tell you that. But we haven't had the actual fires in our county. So we've been very fortunate that way. But that's in part due to the fact that we're not only partly urban, but we are very aggressive on vegetation management and we're very concerned. Our summers are getting hotter and hotter and drier and also windier. So that's a very dangerous combination. At the same time, our urgency to remove carbon entirely from our power mix goes beyond just wanting to fight climate change. Decarbonization will greatly improve our air quality. That's very important to us because we are situated in a valley. We're surrounded by the Sierra Nevada mountains and the coastal range. So we basically live in a basin. And when the air gets dirty here, it just sits here with inversions. And our electricity is a big part of that problem. So while SMUD is considered one of the greenest utilities in the country, we still rely on natural gas generation for about half of our power generation. Our childhood asthma rates are 30% higher than the national average. That is unacceptable. And the American Lung Association's 2020 State of the Air report, we were ranked the 5th most polluted city in the country and in the nation based on the days of unhealthy and unsafe levels of air pollution in the ozone layer. We can't afford to waste any more time. We owe it to our children, our grandchildren, our community, and our environment to seize this moment. So that is why we are doing this carbon plan. But the hard part starts now. The staff are already working on our plan. We have 9 years. The clock is ticking. And if you go to our website, we actually have a clock, just like in Times Square. So this is going to be a community effort. Next slide, please. SMUD's Zero Carbon Plan focuses on 4 main areas. Proven clean technology that we all know about, which includes wind, solar, geothermal, hydro, biomass, short-term battery storage, and demand response. And while today's carbon-free technology isn't capable of getting us to zero carbon, these resources can get us to at least 90%. We've already figured that out. Today's SMUD's power supply is about 50% carbon-free, and our new plan will include adding 3,000 megawatts of new renewable energy and storage, which is equivalent to the energy needs of more than 600,000 homes per year. This includes growing our rooftop solar and battery storage adoption. The second area is new technology and business models and potential partnerships. We will identify new technology and business models that enable us to work with partners in researching, piloting, and possibly bringing new technologies to scale. This could include hydrogen and green hydrogen, methane and long duration energy storage, flow batteries, compressed air storage, etc. While these options aren't developed enough to reach scale that we need now, they hold the potential to replace the natural gas generation. And the third area is retiring our gas generation plants and or retooling them. We have 5 natural gas plants that provide low cost, reliable power 24 hours a day. Eliminating GHGs from our power plants, including our biggest, the 600 megawatt Consumnes power plant, is essential to reaching our goal. We're focused on reimagining our existing generation portfolio to eliminate greenhouse gas emissions through retirement, retooling, and using renewable fuels in our power plants. And we're looking at things like, how do we repower them with green hydrogen or other biofuels? So I just realized my notes ran out and the printer had broken and I forgot about that. So I'm just going to go on from here because the staff just said this to me yesterday. Next slide, please. We're going to create this, we're going to achieve this goal with community partnerships. The bottom line is we cannot as a utility do this alone. We've talked at length with our community. We had community hearings and talked with them about how are we going to do this? Are you with us? We had an amazing response. The survey shows, I think it was in the 80+% range of the public strongly or does agree, agree with us that we need to do this carbon plan. So we're on very safe ground with our constituencies. The partners that we're partnering with are, groups like the Sacramento Realtors Association that talks with people who are buying homes. How can they electrify? What are the incentives we're providing? They can help be educators of the community. How can we incentivize businesses to not only get solar, but solar with storage so that we can pull that power when we need it, when there's smoke in the air or the sun isn't shining. We're working with regulators. We've got to get some of the barriers out of the way. And this is where we need to partner with other utilities to work together on some of the rules changes. And our employees, we have 2,200 employees that are out talking in the community and making sure they stay with us. Paul Lau is having, our CEO is having literally Q&As with our staff virtually, taking on any question and trying to make sure they're all with us as well. Next slide, please. So we have a new zero carbon email and website. We've created a whole campaign. We just put the press release out yesterday about our zero carbon plan. We're very, very proud to be doing this. And we do feel as we're the right size public power authority. We can move nimbly and quickly with the right community support that we can take this on, but hopefully we have more utilities and states and governments joining us because we can't change the climate alone. It's going to take everybody. So with that, I'll end there. And I hope that was helpful and happy to take questions.
Heidi, thank you so much. It is really remarkable what you're achieving out there. Our commitment in the state of Maine is to get us to 100% clean electricity by 2050. We don't quite have a plan with respect to that, but it is a goal. And we're hoping to get to 80% below our 2030, 80% below our 1990 emissions levels by that year as well. But you are light years ahead of us. It's very impressive what you're doing. You're clearly leading the country. You have twice as many customers as our two investor-owned utilities put together. And I think it's remarkable to see it at that scale. We know and are inspired by the examples of the 6 utilities in the country that brought their conservative communities, 4 out of 6 conservative communities to 100%. And we're the first 6 to do that. They all are served by consumer-owned utilities. So we've seen it at the small scale. Clearly, it's a business model that has been leading the nation in that regard, but you've done it at the large scale and are on track to be the first in the nation. So thank you for joining us. I want to open it up to questions, legislators in particular. We really want to hear from you because you get to decide on this, this issue first. And we do hope to send it to the people for a vote. So I want to open it up to others shortly thereafter. But are there any legislators? I see a number on the call today who have a question. And I see Representative Grahowski has one.
Thank you. And thank you, Heidi, for joining. It's good to see you again. I was curious, and I think I can guess the answer, but all of the new generation that you're looking to build, will that all happen within your utility area, or are you going to have to be drawing resources from outside of that area in order to manage your renewable energy load?
We're trying to maximize what we do in the region and keep the jobs here. But for example, some of the best wind resource in the world is in Solano County, which is a neighboring county, and then also offshore. So we think some of our wind, we were already planning to expand our wind power in the Solano area. We're well on our way to getting that approved. And then now our state is looking very seriously at some offshore wind options, which might be part of it. But we're getting power from Nevada geothermal. We might expand on that. We've got some from Sonoma County. There's a lot of different ways we can go, but we're maximizing what we can do in our county, which includes dairy digesters, landfill gas. We're even looking at different options. We haven't approved this yet, but even things like we have where islands in the Delta had literally been walled off from the water and farmed, is letting those go back because they're emitting a ton of methane. And if we let those cover up again and stop, that could stop methane. So there's all kinds of things we're looking at inside and outside the county, but maximizing in the county.
Great, thank you. Other legislators or electeds, policymakers?
I can say there's 5,000 acres of solar are going to be added in our county.
Wow. That's
so
impressive.
It's very impressive. And a lot of it, we're going to try and put as much on disturbed land and rooftops as we can. But yeah.
Just quickly to clarify for us, because when we talk about 100% renewable electricity in Maine, that would only solve 7% of our emissions problem. 9% is industry, 30% is buildings, mostly heating oil. The rest is gasoline, 54% for cars. So even getting to 100% by 2050, which is our goal, only solves 7% of our problem here. How does that compare to your situation?
Well, that's why.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Sorry, a big part of our plan is transportation and building decarbonization. So we're working very closely with the city and the county of Sacramento. City's already passed their climate change resolution. They've got a whole commission. They've got recommendations. They're adopting a policy right now, I believe, the ordinance that was going to require all buildings be free of fossil fuel by, I think, in 3 years. And I have friends that are moving into our newest developments now that are all electric. We've been at SMUD giving incentives to developers for years, trying to get them to go carbon free. Because once you've got the infrastructure in the building, it's hard to turn away from it. So, and it's also cheaper, we found, because you're building a building with one less utility. So, it's actually cheaper. But then you have to make sure you keep the power on, because when people feel totally reliant on only one source of for their cooking, heating, everything. We just had a big windstorm here, for example, and power went out for up to 4 days in some areas. And again, we've never seen windstorms like this. They're getting quite terrifying, actually. And people were like, whoa. If I hadn't had my gas stove, I would not have been able to cook, or had my fireplace. I wouldn't have been able to have any heat. So we have to make sure that when we do this, we're keeping the power reliable and the rates low, or else we can't convince people to do this, to electrify their vehicle, their building, everything, because they're going to be so reliant on this. So
that's an important observation, given that Maine has the worst reliability in the country and the 10th highest rates in the country. So that's one of the things that's really motivating us right now. Wow. And we hear you loud and clear there. That's a really great observation. Representative Grochowski.
Thank you. I was also curious, and I'm sorry if I missed it, how long did it take to develop this plan and approve the plan from start to finish?
7 months. 7 months?
Wow.
And did you have to hire like additional contractors and people to help move that along, or?
We did. We hired a facilitator outside of the organization to make sure we're being fair and inclusive. And there was a couple of consultants, I think the staff hired to give them some input on some of the newer technologies. We had panels, expert panels that presented to the board different options that we had. And they're thinking that you want to right size the system first by doing energy efficiency and maximizing those things before you start building power plants that cost a lot of money. If you don't need that power later, why would you have built that plant? So we got a lot of good advice from experts. Some give it free, some were consultants. But we have, I call them Team Awesome. Our staff are absolutely fantastic. They're a team all the way. And so we felt like, because we're nimble, we're the right size, we've got this community support, the support from our local cities and counties, and we've got all these universities here and a lot of really smart people, that we would be the ones that are perfect with our amazing staff to take this on. and it is the moonshot of our generation. We have to succeed. And the only way to do that is to set the goal, go for it, and then bring on the best and the brightest. And by going first, it's already happening. We've got a large investor group that's already reached out to us. So we're literally talking about when we're going to do the press event 3 months after we started talking about it. Where we're going to get this investment to put in electric charging stations and gig cars and electric mobility options, scooters and everything in disadvantaged neighborhoods. And we're partnering with our regional transit agency to put it right next to their light rail stations. And we've already got the power there, and they've already got the CEQA done. So all this excitement is creating more opportunities and partnerships. And that's what it's going to take. And so that's why we're so excited to talk to you, because anything we can do to help share the information and share partnerships and figuring this all out together, the faster we'll really make a dent in climate change.
Heidi, it's been so great to be with you. We are short on time. We're trying to keep this to half an hour, keep it tight. But are you available if we want to reach out to you for additional questions? Because I know there are quite a few that we haven't had time for today.
Absolutely.
That's great.
Absolutely.
And it is 1 minute before the hour. Is there a lightning quick question that anyone wants to toss out there?
I see two in the chat I could answer.
Okay, great.
How does the elected board get the technical expertise it needs? Mm-hmm. We have a consultant, Eric, who helps facilitate and teach us about policy governance and why it's so important to the operation of a utility like this. We've seen too many boards where they get down into the weeds, or the board members telling staff what to do. That doesn't work. You have to hire the best and the brightest, and then you give them a target and you let them loose and make sure they've got the support to get there. And that's what we're doing. And that's why I think SMUD works so very well, is the policy governance model. And I'm happy to talk about that at another time.
Great.
And yes, SMUD is a member of CAISO.
Excellent. We may invite you back for a meeting with the Our Power team, to do a deeper dive on some of these issues. But I hope that everyone that attended, I know that everyone that attended finds your example to be very inspiring. We are committed to, catching up as best we can in the race to decarbonize an equitable future. So you've inspired us today, and we're very, very grateful for you taking the time. And we hope to be in touch.
I look forward to it. It's going to take a team effort. So please, whatever we can do to help, we're happy to talk again. Give information. You can follow us on social media and follow us on the listservs.
Outstanding. Thank you so much, Heidi.